Okay, so how do you capture light? And how do you... You know what? I don't know. I've been dealing with this for a while, and it's been a while since Angie passed, but as we're approaching the 17th anniversary of the release of Let It Ride, I thought, which was released in 2004, I thought, I need to revisit this, and I think just because at the time when I recorded this episode and I tried to capture all the things that we talked about and try to get it down to its very base, I left out some of the things that Angie and I just kind of talked about. And so I feel to really capture the essence of Angie, I just thought here is a unedited version of the interview I had with Angie, and it's filled with me making mistakes and Angie saying brilliant things and loving things and amazing things like she always did. And I don't know, I just felt it needed to exist in this form. So here is the unabridged version of Episode 22 with Angie Heaton. I miss you so much, Angie. Thank you for being a part of my life.
I could tell you what the song is about, but one time my brother asked me what this song was about because he really liked it. And I told him, and he said, Angie, do me a favor. And I said, what's that? And he said, don't ever, ever tell me what your songs are about ever again.
This is Champagne is Also a Band podcast. One songwriter, one song. I'm Sven, your host for a journey into the music of Champaign-Urbana. Recorded in the Blue Box studio with a songwriter from the Champaign-Urbana music scene, past or present. Champagne is Also a Band podcast is proud to be a part of the Champagne Showers Podcast Network.
Put my headphones on.
Yeah, let's give that a
Let's fire it up. This is very exciting.
Oh, yeah. And it makes you want to try again, right?
Mm-hmm. This makes me want to try again.
So, awesome.
Hello? Hello. Hey, what's up? I can't hear me, but are these even plugged in?
Oh, no, you probably didn't plug them in. That's probably why.
We could have been doing that all day. Am I supposed to know everything? There we go.
You should know some things, but not all things. Because all things would be boring. Maybe.
Probably.
Well, one imagines, yes. So, alright, let me...
This is so fancy.
Well, it's something, but it's fun. You know what? Let's scoot you up. Scoot your chair just up a bit.
Okay, we're gonna scoot my chair up.
Because that's fine. And I'm gonna just edit like crazy, so it's fun. Yes, because, you hit these things.
Clink, clink.
Clink,
He's
clink.
got these things in here that look like Jenga.
They're diffusers.
Diffusers. Jenga.
They're diffuser confusers. How do I sound?
You
do I
sound
good?
Great. I want to come over here all the time and just listen to my own voice.
Okay. Actually, what we can do is put you in the Vox box, and then you can hear that, and you could do your ASMR. Your whole podcast that's nothing but you eating nuts and gum. That's it. It's just some cashews. Just throw that in there, and then have like some, I don't know, and then get some bubble yum in there, and just AMSR the crap out of it.
You know, I have that thing where when people are chewing or crunching that it makes me want to murder them.
That's funny that I brought that up.
It's kind of funny.
Well,
my dad can like chew oatmeal, and I'll be sitting across the table from him, and I'll just want to just.
Oh my!
He knows.
Oh yeah. So he's doing it on purpose, or no?
It is Father's Day. Am I going to date the podcast by saying it's Father's Day?
No, that's fine. I mean, this will come out in about
2034.
4 weeks. So
it's Father's Day,
2019. 2034, yes.
Okay.
It is a very different time. A time of hope and peace. And minimal pollution.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, welcome to Champagne is Also a Band podcast. Today, I have Angie Heaton. And we're going to talk about It's Easier When You're Here from the album Let It Ride. And you may know Angie from, as I will try to say some of these bands. Let's see, we've got 40 Days.
Can I tell you about the bands, or do you want?
Do you want to do that?
Do you want to just list them off?
Well, I usually list them off, but if you want to do that, that'd be awesome. I think that'd be
40
fun.
40 Days was a band I had in high school with Kurt Bielema, who also produced and recorded and basically played everything on the Let It Ride album. There you go.
I didn't know that.
We
That's
went
good.
to prom together.
Oh.
Fun fact.
How'd that go?
Funny you should ask. Kurt and I had a great time together.
Awesome. So, should I go on to Elysian Fields?
Please. That was a band that when I contacted the singer of that band, when I contacted the singer of Elysian Fields, he did not remember me being the very first drummer. So that kind of tells you how that was going at that time.
Very brief, could it be?
Very brief and very drinky time in my life. That was at Mizzou. I always say I went to Mizzou, but I was merely enrolled
in Mizzou.
At Mizzou, so
I see.
I didn't really go.
So is this, and then Catgut?
Oh, Catgut was a band with Dean Schwank in it, and I can't remember the other guys' names, but Dean Schwank was so cute. I was confused for a minute, so I joined the band. He had long hair and drove a Chevy pickup truck. Mm.
All right.
Do you know Dean?
I don't know.
He ended up being in The Gentle Tamers.
Oh, okay. Excellent. So, and then let's see. So we've got El Camino Joyride Theme.
Oh, right. That's the band in some guy's basement. And I don't remember that band. I don't know why I told you I was in that band. But we recorded a theme song for Allison Davis Woods had a radio show on PGU, or maybe it was WEFT. Called the El Camino Joyride.
Okay. And so with that, very cool. And then So Few Bullets.
So Few Bullets was pre-Corn Dolly with a girl named Lynn Fisher. Amy Gasso, Lynn Fisher, and myself. So Few Bullets. We were kind of like, well, I better not say.
Okay. Sounds good.
It was supposed to be so few men, so few bullets. We weren't really man-hating, like...
I see.
I don't know. I don't know what was going on in our head. So few bullets.
Well, I think you were pre-addressing some very obvious problems with the patriarchy. How about that? Let's just say...
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
How about that? We'll just go with that.
We weren't like super radical separatist feminists or anything. I wasn't. Again, a time where I don't remember much of what was going on.
Gotcha. So, Corn Dolly. I think that's like, is that your... Yeah. I mean, I think that's where a lot of people would remember you from, other than your solo work, obviously. But
maybe we should just cut all the stuff we just talked about out and just talk about Corn Dolly.
Okay. I mean, we could...
we don't have to.
Why don't we just go down this rabbit hole and then see how it turns out?
Okay, that's
and then,
perfect.
And then I can just cut.
Mm-hmm. Corn Dolly was, Amy from So Few Bullets and I got together with Wendy and Rachel from a band called Sheila, which I think also Allison Davis was the drummer in that band. And then we decided to form Corn Dolly.
Okay.
I just did what people told me at that time.
Oh, okay. And you were a drummer at that point, right?
I was,
so,
yes.
Yeah. So,
I was a drummer in all of those bands up until I started playing solo.
Gotcha. And then, so Licorette?
Drummer. Band with what was left over of Corn Dolly after the singer quit the band. Rachel moved, and we had a new bass player in Corn Dolly named Matt Friedberger. And he went on to be kind of fancy in a band called Fiery Furnaces with his sister Eleanor Friedberger. Have you heard of them?
I have. That's wonderful. So it looked like you joined the Tractor Kings for a little bit. And
I did.
Played some drums.
Played some drums with the Tractor Kings. I played on an album called Gone to Heaven.
All right.
That was really fun. I love country music.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. And then, of course, you as the solo, Angie Heaton, but your first band besides the, I guess, being solo was with the Gentle Tamers.
Right. I had a book called The Gentle Tamers, which was about women who pioneered the West.
Oh.
And I just really liked the name. So I had this group of guys that I was playing with, and I said, I want to be Angie Heaton and the Gentle Tamers. And they were like, that's cool. And then I told them where it came from. Nobody cared.
Awesome. And that was, and let me remember, the Gentle Tamers at the time were, was that Josh Quirk and...
No. Okay, so the first incarnation, we'll say, of the Gentle Tamers was Kurt Bielema and Nick Rudd. No, that's not true. The first incarnation was me on drums, Nick Rudd on guitar, and Charlie Dold on bass.
Okay.
And then I think Kurt started playing guitar and Charlie was on bass. And then it was Dean Schwenk on bass.
Okay.
Kurt Bielema on guitar. Me on guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And Todd Fletcher on drums. And at one point, Brendan Gamble played drums.
Oh my gosh.
So after that, it was a revolving door, probably because of my unique personality. After that, I met Josh Quirk, who is my best friend, and he said, I'll put a band together for you. And he played drums.
Nice.
Bob Watson played guitar, and Josh Walden played bass.
Okay. Yeah, I think...
And I played guitar.
To be honest, I think that was the first incarnation that I remember seeing. But it might have just been because I already knew, like, Josh from... oh my gosh, the Brat Pack.
Yep.
And I can't believe I just blanked on that name. And then, and Bob Watson you would see over at like Iron Post playing with...
He's
just
the man.
People, yeah, just...
He's good.
All over the place, just playing... All these, like, session-ish people that play, that they're used to just dropping in and playing.
Well, you should always play with people who are better than you are.
Yeah.
And these guys are pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. But
to say the least.
you have to accept the fact, too, that they also admire you greatly, or else they wouldn't play with you. I'm just saying.
They're not playing with me anymore, so...
Well, I mean, you upgraded to the fights.
I'd say that was a lateral... I mean, there's... seriously, with that incarnation of the Gentle Tamers, Josh, and Bob, that's pretty amazing.
Like, yeah. Yeah,
you could go in and be like, I want to play Bohemian Rhapsody, and you guys play it, and I'll sing it, and they would just be like, play it.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
That's how good they are. One point, Josh would play Rush songs in between. No, maybe that was. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe that was Kurt and Brendan Gamble. Somebody would play Rush during songs at practice, and I'd be like, ugh. But I don't hate Rush.
Yeah, don't be hating on Rush. No, it's so I guess thank you and welcome to the show. I'm so happy that we were finally able to like meet and get together and get this recorded and talk, because I feel like a lot of people ask me about why haven't I interviewed Angie Heaton yet, and if we're not, and if it's not that, no, I've had a few people. I would say, okay, granted, it's not a ton of people, but the most people have asked for me to interview you. Let's just say that.
Well, that's very kind.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you to all my fan.
Nice. So I guess without further ado, why don't we listen to the song It's Easier When You're Here.
Let's do it.
All right. And now we listen. So
that I'd find you here. I didn't know by asking that you'd disappear, but I didn't come out here for you. In fact, I think I'll go back and hide. I had a dream that one of us started
Welcome back, Sven.
Hey, welcome back to me. All right. And to you, Angie.
Do you think I talk too much?
No, I like it actually when people talk more than I do, because, I'm generally a shy guy, and,
I'm going to do an interview of you for your podcast.
Okay. Okay.
Later. We'll do that later.
Okay, good. Because I'm like, should we do that now? Okay.
Sven and I go way back, so he knows that I have some attention issues.
What?
I'm drifting already.
You have what?
Attention.
For what? What are we doing? What? But that's all right, because I also have difficulty staying squirrel
Focused.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say.
Sven, it's easier when you're here.
Thanks. Well, I mean, I'm sure that the podcast would be, hopefully the podcast is easier when you are here, or else it'd just be me making guesses about why this song came about. So let me just start off with, and I know that this song goes back a ways. This was released in 2001?
I have no idea.
Wait. Oh, good. Because it has the tiniest type ever on it.
Do you need your readers?
I need my cheaters.
Just move this around and
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I don't see a date on this. What? But anyway, I usually don't even talk about the date, but I was just like, this is probably one of your, this is an older release, and most people like to talk about...
it's timeless.
Yeah, they like to talk about the more recent song that they've written. So, let me just ask, is this something that started out with guitar chords, or did you already have some words? And, I mean, what brought this song about?
Funny you should ask. Since this is what this podcast is about.
I love you, Angie.
And I've not thought about it at all. It's easier when you're here. You know what? It just came to me that what inspired this song was there was a band called, what were they called? I can't even think of the guy's name that was in it. Oh, I got it. Love Cup.
Okay.
Do you remember that band?
I don't. I need to. Is it? I'm guessing it's a local band then.
It was a local band.
Okay.
And we're going to have to edit. Let me Google, and then you can edit it.
Okay, sure.
Because I would be so embarrassed that I didn't remember this guy's name. But he had a song, and in it said, I think it said, it makes me want to try again.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I don't remember, but a lot of my lyrics are borrowed from other people. I wouldn't say it's plagiarism.
No, it's definitely, you're very referential, that's for sure.
I reference Bob Dylan sometimes, and I reference just songs I've liked. And I even wrote a song once that was just the titles of the names of songs that I liked and made a song out of it.
Oh.
I would say nothing is original. And I've heard before also, if you steal something, it's already been stolen twice.
Probably. I would agree with that easily.
Yeah, the Love Cup band. Okay, so let's just say there was a band called Love Cup.
Uh-huh.
And somehow this song was inspired by Mark Baldwin was in that band, and TJ Harrison was in that band.
Wow.
And I can't think of who the drummer was, but they were a great band. And somehow the lyric was inspired by them.
All right.
Let's just cut all that part out.
Oh, okay, sure. No problem.
Okay.
We'll see. I'll make it real pretty.
Again.
So, okay. So when you started this song, was it something that you were playing on the guitar, or did you have the words, or did you have a melody, or how did this song come about?
A lot of my songs they just kind of come out of me. So I will be playing some chords and then likely a lyric will come out. A lot of my songs are written right in that moment. Most of them.
Uh-huh.
But I'll have ideas of like lyrics that I've heard before, lyrics that I've wanted to use. But most of the time it's a surprise to me what comes out. I could tell you what the song is about, but one time my brother asked me what this song was about because he really liked it. And I told him, and he said, Angie, do me a favor. And I said, what's that? And he said, don't ever, ever tell me what your songs are about ever again.
Oh, no.
Because I think what it was actually about ruined it for him.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's interesting. Actually, I think that I'm more interested in when the actual meaning or the basis for the song is completely different than what I imagined. I think that just opens up the whole multiverse of what our existence is, right? So it's like we're taking multiple interpretations of the same words or same musical intent, but it means something different to each person. And I think that's a lot more fascinating than, oh, this is very, very obvious exactly what this song is about. And that's just been my experience so far with this podcast. It's just hearing the different stories and how they come about.
Well, ultimately, I would say this song is about people coming into your life that help you to live better. Like it's easier when this person is in your life, or it's easier when this person is in your life. When I was writing it, I was trying to get sober. Mm-hmm. So I was all messed up. Like I had been drinking pretty heavily for many years.
Yeah.
And it's about three different things, mostly three different people who inspired me to stay sober.
Yeah. Well, it'd make you want to try again.
Exactly.
Yeah. Over and over, but yeah. So, I mean, so this song came out of that decision, or you had already made that decision to get sober? Was that, I mean, I don't even know. Half the time I don't know exactly what I'm trying to ask, but I know I have a good idea in there somewhere.
Who are the three people?
But, no, I mean, that's, really this, I try to ask open-ended questions, which is funny because they usually start out pretty open-ended and then I start like trying to clarify what I meant and then it gets more and more closed. So that's not good. But, I just, I don't know if that's something you wanted to talk more about or elucidate on at all, or just... Well,
I can tell you what I told my brother.
Okay.
And he said, Angie, it's easier when you're here, but it's easier when you're here about. And I said, well, one day I went to the gym, and he said, okay.
Yeah.
And I said there was somebody working out on one of the machines that I could tell was struggling with something. With like probably an eating disorder or an exercise disorder or some kind of addiction too. It was very apparent to me that this person was struggling. Whether they were or not, I have no idea. But in my mind, I thought they're struggling. And I was struggling. And my girlfriend at the time got me into working out, and we would go to this gym every morning at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and I hated it. I hated having to be accountable for, my health, or to my girlfriend to get up and go to the gym every day. And when I would watch this person who I could tell was struggling, I was like, I'm struggling too. But she was always there, and it was easier for me. It was easier for me to work out because that person was there. Like somehow it gave me inspiration, or that it felt like there was a reason to be there. There was a reason to get better. There was a reason to keep going.
Wow.
And I felt like I was getting better, and I felt like maybe she wasn't. I don't know. I don't even. Yeah.
Well, that rolls into that line of, I had a dream that one of us started living and the other one just tried.
Right. Yeah, but I wasn't sure like who was who, at the time.
Right.
And then when I was getting sober, I met some other people that were doing the same thing, and just having people around you that, it's like, hey, everything's not unicorns and rainbows. It's like, we've been there. We know you're struggling. We're struggling too. It's just, that's what makes me want to try again.
Yeah.
It sounds so dorky to talk about it.
No, actually, I'm surprisingly, well, no, I don't know, not surprisingly, but I'm like touched because I think, I don't know if you ever got a chance to hear the first episode of this podcast where Elizabeth Majuris and I kind of sang your praises, but
I did listen to it.
Okay. But
did.
I mean, that's
And
the
I
thing
love you
is
both.
that we both said, there's something that's so simple about some of the words that you write, but they always come with they always are, there's so much to unpack with each of your words. And I just, you could take all of your lyrics at face value and it's still a wonderful song, but like the deeper meanings that you can tell contextually, just kind of, it's like a fine, I was going to say like a fine wine where it just like as it breathes a little bit, it just gets better and better. So, but I really appreciate that you're opening up about what this song is about. And I think it's interesting, and I'll probably never tell you how you changed mine. It's like that person you probably don't even know who that person's name is.
I do know who they are, and I did meet them. It was weird because I would be around town and I would see them, and finally I sort of befriended this person. But yeah, they have no idea that I thought that or anything. And
Right.
Plus I talked to everybody. They just probably thought it's weird, Angie, whatever.
But I appreciate that.
But I have no idea where they are now, and
Right.
That part about when you look into a stranger's eyes and you realize that you recognize. Don't you think that's true? It's like I remember when I met you and I thought, oh, you're part of my soul group. Do you remember me telling you that?
I remember you telling me that, but I thought that was something that kind of came up later in our relationship, but now I'm realizing that maybe you had thought that originally and just didn't want to scare me off, maybe.
Probably. But do you know when you were very vulnerable, not vulnerable, but like you can get vulnerable. I hate the word vulnerable because it's so I don't even know right now. It's like everybody's feeling vulnerable and getting vulnerable. And I just remember talking to you and you told me some pretty heavy stuff about yourself and, about what was going on in your life. And I think that's what I see. That's what I need to see. I'm terrible at small talk. I don't ever want to talk about things that I perceive people my age, women my age, want to talk about. Handbags. I got nothing. Do you know?
Yeah, well, yeah.
I have to get deep with people. I have to know like what, maybe that's kind of morbid, but like I have to be like, what's wrong? Like not what's right, but like, let's talk about what you've been through. What's made you stronger? What are you doing today? What's the solution?
Well, it's more substantive that it's like that it's the guts of the matter. It's not, and I almost think maybe it's harder to, now what about explaining something that is good about your life and getting to the nuts and bolts about that? I think that's good. Harder to do.
It's harder to do. And there's so much good now, but I think at the time, like until recently, it was really hard for me to see, what caused joy, what produced joy.
Yeah.
That's why I can't write a song anymore either, is because I'm too happy now. I can't write a song because all my songs are sad.
Oh.
Do a podcast on that.
Well, aren't we doing that right now?
I guess.
Yeah.
I feel so vulnerable.
I do miss. I don't know. It's like if I have depression, it takes the form of I don't feel anything rather than I feel something. And usually when that happens, when it used to be that I felt terrible, it was like, wow, I could go and do something really artistic and like dig that out, and then I'd feel better, and that would feel better than just being numb and being like, I gotta get out of this. Well, let's kind of half-ass a song or some art to see if you could dig yourself out, but you just can't. From numbness, you can't dig yourself out. I don't feel. Maybe that's just me, but
no, I think that makes sense. I did write one song last year.
Sweet.
Accidentally dated. I decided I wasn't going to date anymore. And really, my life has gotten so much better. Thank you for asking. But I accidentally dated last year when I was living in Minnesota, and my heart hurt. And then I could write a song. I wrote one song.
Oh, so
you didn't ask me if I've been writing songs, but I'm just telling you about it.
But so, how does one accidentally date someone?
Oh, it's tricky.
I would assume that takes lots of skill.
What happened was somebody started paying attention to me.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, oh, we're going to be friends. And then it was like, yeah, I don't know.
Oh. I
probably shouldn't dig too deep into that.
It's whatever you need and whatever you're willing to share. I guess, so what is your songwriting like? How do you start with a song? Do you how does that, it's, you said that it just kind of comes out of you, but do you usually have to have your guitar in your hands when you're putting it together, or does it just kind of pop into your head and you just kind of hum something? Or,
well, since we have iPhones now with notes, I can get a lyrical idea and then make a note of it, and then I'll try to write around it. That doesn't work for me. Like it is literally, I have to have the guitar and then I write a song. And I always joke that it's like hashtag funny, not funny, but all of my songs are about crushes and death and being crushed to death. And they are about crushes and death. So if no one's dying and nobody's paying attention to me and I don't get a crush, then the well is dry, Sven.
Oh, well, I keep thinking that when you said that, it just reminded me of the Julian Baker line where she says, I wish I could write songs about anything other than death.
Ugh, I love her so much.
Yeah.
I don't know that line, but I really do like her.
I'm trying to, it's off of the Sprained Ankle album. I hope I'm right. I hate when I'm like, this
wrong.
Is exactly what it is, and then I say it wrong.
Do you listen to My Favorite Murder?
I do.
You could do a corrections corner.
Corner. Yes. All right. Yes, I'm about, I think I'm about 15 episodes behind right now, but I've got a lot to listen to.
Did you buy the book?
I did not buy the book, but it's come out now, right?
It has. I've bought 3 copies, and then when I was reading it, it said, buy 3 copies, and I thought, done. I gave one to my dad for Father's Day. He's really excited about it.
Oh, does he also likes My Favorite Murder? Yeah. Excellent.
We go on road trips, and we listen to My Favorite Murder.
Excellent. No, he's not the one that called it the F word murder cast, was it?
No.
You've never written into Hometown, have you?
I have, but they've never read mine. And plus it's touchy.
Oh.
Hometown murders are kind of touchy.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be a murder. I mean, if you found something in the walls, of course,
I didn't.
Oh,
not yet.
Okay.
or what's the other one? Like, just
I did write about that time. I don't know if you saw that I got a letter from my grandma.
No.
So last year I got a letter from my grandma, and this and my grandma's
What?
been deceased since 2001, I think.
No.
And I know a mail carrier in town, and she Facebook messaged me and said, "Do you still live at this address?" And I said, "No." I can't remember if it was right before I moved or had moved. And she said, "I have a letter for you." And I said, "That's weird. Like, who's it from?" And she said, "It's from Antoinette Heaton, who was my grandmother."
Oh my goodness.
And I said, "Well, she's been dead for however many years."
Yeah.
And it was postmarked like 1996.
What?
I know.
Oh my gosh. And it just happened.
It just
Showed up.
happened. It just showed up. And it hadn't been opened. And it was like a sticker, and it had a turtle on it, and it said, "Thank you."
Oh.
What was the question?
There was no question, but I mean, we were just talking about originally, like the song, writing songs, and then we just kind of devolved
Drifted
into the great stuff that's
happening
that we
in my life.
listen. Yeah. So,
I feel like there was a point to telling that story, though.
Well, I think it started when you said, like, you write songs about death and then crushes and then getting crushed to death. And then I brought up Julian Baker, and then we just couldn't remember. And then Corrections Corner. And then we went to My Favorite Murder. Wow. I think I'm actually reconstructing our conversation.
Oh, right. Good job. Okay. So that's what I wrote into My Favorite Murder about.
Oh, wow.
Was that I had gotten a letter from my grandma. Thank you, because I was starting to worry that I was losing my mind a little.
No.
Which I am, but...
you know, if you can end up in a very strange conversation later that you're like, how the hell did we get here? I kind of like that a lot. Like, you got less concerned about the purposes of talking and more about just talking. And I hope that I can at least do that a little bit with this podcast, because it should be about a conversation. And gosh, how long have we known each other easily? I think at least 20 years, maybe?
Maybe.
I don't... Well, I know that I saw you about 20 years ago.
Where did we meet?
That's a very good question. But
Does anyone know where Sven and I met?
Okay. Oh, no. Okay. Yes. Okay. There it is. Okay. So I know that I saw you in 99, but it was when you played for, like, Border Fest.
Oh,
okay?
Yeah. Borders.
And so Borders Fest.
That's how we met.
And
was you worked there.
I did work there.
Borders, man, that was a great gig. You could play for 1 hour, maybe 2 hours, and you would get $75 and $100 gift certificate. Is that why they went out of business?
I did not know that they did that. All I know is I hung my art up there once and didn't get a dime. So, there it was.
Yeah.
But as an employee, I'm sure that might have had something to do with it. I don't know. But, wow.
I miss Borders.
Yeah, I'm sure Borders misses Borders. Poor Borders.
Yeah.
But, no, I guess so how did you get the album, like, Let It Ride, like, recorded, and, how did you...
Well, I was very depressed during this process, and I was working with Kurt Bielema, again, who is amazing, and he was going to record this album for me, and I was sleeping a lot. I was heartbroken, so the songs were like coming out. Let's see, we have a copy of it right here. I can tell you which songs are about. Godspeed the Plow. We could just go Moth versus Flame. All of it. Downed, the Cheap Trick cover. They talk about suicide. It was very depressing. There's some not depressing songs on here, but I was heartbroken, And Kurt said he would record this record, and he was working on it all the time, and I was working on it hardly ever. And I remember that I would go to his house, and I would like lay down on the floor and kind of sleep, or not sleep. Like I would just be like depressed, and he would be plugging away.
Huh.
He did like 99% of that record is Kurt Bielema, and I played acoustic guitar and sang, but everything else is him. It's a drum machine. He played guitar, bass.
Nice. Yeah, isn't it just neat that his own, I guess, fortitude to want to get that done, but knew that it would mean something really special to you, just to bring something into an existence that, would mean something to you. And
I'm forever grateful to him, because I'm sure I wasn't like the best person to be around at that time, and he worked so hard. He's a great songwriter too. Have you had him on your podcast?
I have not. I've
Note to self.
asked him. He is on the short list, but
yeah, he's so talented. He really is.
Yeah, actually, it was funny. I asked him a while back, and he's just like wanted to just talk about one of his instrumental pieces, and I was like, "Oh, can we get some words in there?" But anyway,
he's a Libra, man. All I need is a Libra man. That's what Edie Beale said in Grey Gardens. Oh,
didn't you just get back from the?
No, I went there. It was a memory. I went to Grey Gardens a couple of years ago with my dad.
Yeah.
We probably listened to My Favorite Murder.
Excellent.
I'm obsessed with Grey Gardens.
Yeah. So what brings that? Yeah.
Crush. It's like a life. It's like a soul crush.
I see.
On Big Edie and Little Edie. And Jerry Torrey, the Marble Fawn, who is now my friend.
What?
Okay, so Jerry Torrey wrote a book called The Marble Fawn of Grey Gardens. Everyone who's listening should buy it. 3 copies.
3 copies.
And he wrote a book, and I wrote him a letter, and I just said, your book really changed the way I watched Grey Gardens and made me think of the mother more. I was always very focused on Little Edie. Mm-hmm. And after I read Jerry's book, I was focused more on Big Edie. And he wrote back. And then I said, hey, I'm going to be in New York. Can I take you to lunch? And he said, sure. And I took Jerry to lunch, and now we're friends.
Wow. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
How did you do that? That's nuts.
Hey, it never hurts to ask.
Wow. Well, and oh my goodness. So I guess, is there anything else you'd like to, because you wrote some things down, I guess, about this song or whatever.
I wanted to tell you some fun facts about, not this song in particular, but other songs on the Let It Ride album.
Let's do that.
My friend Gina Villalobos sang backup on some songs, and I would encourage everyone to check her out. And LP sang backup on Downed and Godspeed the Plow. And that's cool because, LP is rocking it right now. She is the hardest working woman in show business.
Wow.
And Nielsen Hubbard, a great songwriter.
Wow.
Who was one of my favorites at the time. Still love him. Don't really know what he's up to, but he sang backup on some of those songs too.
So how did that come about, that they ended up singing backups? And
they were coming through town. Well, LP and Nielsen were playing shows locally while I was working on it. I think it was already in the mastering process. No, not when Nielsen. When Nielsen recorded, he was at Kurt's house. But I think LP actually went to the studio when Adam Schmidt had a studio in the back of Parasol.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And LP sang backup vocals there, I think. And so did Gina.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, you just ask,
Sure, why not?
Ask and you shall receive. Who said that?
A lot of people.
I think it was Jesus. I don't know.
Maybe.
God.
I've said it.
God.
I said it like last week. But,
I did too. But it's true. Ask and you shall receive.
Yeah. So I guess then, do you think about, there's a lot of people that, and maybe I'm putting you on the spot too, but this is also, I'm saying this as a friend too. I think it's amazing that, and I almost feel like, I don't want to should you, but I'm also like, it'd be cool if you focused on this for a little bit, is the idea that, although sometimes you really don't believe in yourself, there's a lot of people out there that really believe in you and really love the music that you do. And that, I ran into some of the fights yesterday at Cobra Fest, and it was really like to just gushing about you and your just your songs and what it means to them and that kind of thing. And just I hear about people that are now famous that wanted to sing backups on your thing, and like Kurt putting so much effort into your own work that to complete Let It Ride. I just think that that's amazing. And sometimes, I don't know, maybe I'm just saying this, I just feel like it doesn't hurt to remember that and focus on it. So
I appreciate that, because I kind of quit writing or playing shows locally when nobody was showing up. You know what I mean? Like when your friends stop showing up, it might be a good time to stop saturating the market. I don't know.
Well,
and we didn't talk about the fights, actually, did we?
No, we haven't.
We should talk about them.
Okay.
And not to change the subject, because I appreciate that.
No, that's fine.
And I know it's not all about... I know that there are people who appreciate my music, and I appreciate that. I really do.
This guy right here.
And I love you for it. I love you for it. But I've never played music to like impress anybody or to make money. I just do it because it's fun, and it stopped being fun. And I played a show at the Resist Art Fair.
Yeah.
And I decided that I would play again. It had been a couple years. And I played a solo show, and Cole and Nick from the Fights showed up. And, they're like cool guys, I think.
Yeah.
They're like young, hip country guys. Love that. And I had moved to Minnesota, or maybe I was somewhere, and Jeff Merritt gave me a copy of the Fights record, and I loved it. But I played that show, the Resist show, and those guys showed up, and I thought, oh, that's so sweet of those guys to come. And Cole afterwards said that he cried during 2 of my songs, and I thought, wow, unexpected, right? I was like, I cry about my songs all the time, but that was very touching for me, because I think, like, when I cry when I hear a song, that's a good song, right? Yeah. And he said, well, what do you think about if you played with the Fights sometime and we could be your backing band? And I was so touched. I was like, yeah, I would love that idea. I thought they were just being nice, though, because that's how I thought, why would they want to do that? But I went home and I called my parents and told them, and then I called my best friend, Josh, because we had talked before. He's so busy with music, he doesn't care, He does me a favor to play with me. And then I texted some of my friends. I'm like, the Fights want to play with me, And I didn't think it would happen. And then Cole texted me and said, what about Hog Shoot? I'm like, let's do it. And we got together and practiced 3 times.
Holy cow. Yeah.
And I think they practiced once before I met with them. But they learned the songs, and they're so good. They're so good. And it was fun, Yeah. And I was like, I want to do that some more. Because I was not having fun. By that time, I was like, by the time I quit playing shows and I moved to Minnesota to be the nanny, I'd played one show, and I thought, why would anybody do this? Why would anybody do this to themselves? I had so much anxiety, and I was like, what kind of egomaniacal asshole? Can I say asshole on this?
Oh, yeah.
Egomaniacal asshole.
Actually, it's required
would do
you say
this.
it. Yeah.
You know, like, I don't, ugh. I mean, I felt terrible.
I'm sorry. No, that's not great.
You know, and I hated myself. And do you ever feel like that? Like you're getting ready to play and you're like, why would you do this?
Only out of nerves would I be like, oh my gosh, this is so stressful. Why would anyone want to do this? Like, this is me stretching myself beyond what I should be. So I don't know. I'm sure I have a definite difference of
you don't have
perspective.
You don't have the self-hatred I have.
Well, it's just, let's just say it's different. Because I've got enough of that, but I kind of feel watching you play at the Hog Shoot. I was just I remember thinking, gosh, I cannot believe how like comfortable and like in your element you seemed up on stage.
That was because it was in a barn, and
Maybe.
I got to wear cowboy boots.
Oh, all right.
But you know, that was the first time I hadn't been nervous playing. Probably ever.
Really?
Probably ever in my whole life.
That is amazing.
Sober.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, Liquorette played a show once. It was the only time I drank and played music my whole career. I always just drank after. And all I remember is that we played 2 songs. Well, 1 song twice. And then Matt was mad.
Huh.
But after that, I got sober, of course. But I mean, my nerves were a wreck playing shows.
Wow. I didn't realize. Yeah.
That Hog Shoot, not nervous. Had a great time. Ready
That's great.
to roll, guys. Let's do it.
It felt
too,
very,
aren't they? They're pretty
yes,
cute.
Yes, very much so. And the thing is that they all love and trust each other. I mean, that's what I feel like, that they not only do they, I feel like each one of them would probably like completely trust the other with their lives, but they also would trust them with their music, which is, you know, it maybe that's over dramatic, but I also am, the way that they're able to interact and I feel like they are not afraid to just be like, look, this is an idea that I have, let's play with it. And there's not a lot of bands that are completely, I don't know, don't feel safe enough, or I don't know how to explain it better than that, but just like that they're willing to be open with each other. And I get that sense every time I've been hanging around them, and it feels like they brought you into the fold like instantly.
Yeah,
So.
it was like, I make them call me mommy.
Yes.
I don't really make them call me mommy, but I feel kind of like their den mom.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that.
I would protect them too.
Yeah.
I met them like 10 years ago, maybe longer than that. One of them was dating a friend of mine.
Uh-huh.
Ish, kind of.
Ish.
Whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know what was going on, but we went over to their house and they all lived together, and they're like brothers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just pretty amazing.
And then Dave,
Pride.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a good guy.
he wasn't in that. He's like, he's a little bit older than them too. Those guys are like 30.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I know. I feel old. Very old. Older than the sun. I don't know. Anyway.
When I was
Wow.
your age.
So, gosh, I feel like I could just talk to you forever and ever and ever and
Let's
ever.
do it.
Okay. So let's just think about. So when did you move to? When did you move to the Champaign-Urbana area, or have you always lived?
I moved to Champaign-Urbana after that little year in Columbia, Missouri. And my parents told me I could go somewhere to quote unquote rest, or I could go live with my brother in Champaign. I think I said what's behind door number 3. But I ended up moving to Champaign. That was 1989, and I haven't left. I left for a few years. Well, I worked at Parasol Records for 17 years. And after that, I moved to Maui. Kind of did a back and forth stint for 2 years. I was a tech-savvy gay butler.
Nice.
For some friends of mine who live on Maui. And after that had sort of run its course, I didn't do anything. Some friends of mine were like, if we ever have kids, do you want to be our nanny? And I was like, yeah.
Awesome.
And then they actually had a kid.
Uh-huh.
And I became the nanny. And we moved to Minnesota for 2 years.
Excellent.
And last year we came back. And now I live here again.
Amazing. So, yeah. You've been around long enough that you can, remember when the blind pig was the blind pig. And how has the music scene changed in the time that you've been here? Like, initially, you said you moved in 1989.
Well, there was a lot going on in the music scene in 1989. There was Mabel's. And
right.
I was just old enough to get into the bars that summer. You had to be 19 to get into the bars. I don't know what it is now. But bands came from all over the country, in the world for that matter, to play at Mabel's. And then later, the Blind Pig opened. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
And then a lot of indie bands, like indie rock, started to... Well, maybe indie rock was already happening, probably.
Well, yeah.
I started to pay attention to it. And I was in bands, and we would play at the Pig. The original Blind Pig was amazing. I'm sure the new Blind Pig is amazing, too, but I don't drink anymore, so...
But it's not...
There's Cat. I think there's Cat in
the brewery, yes.
Yeah. So.
But it's not necessarily the same as... it's not like it has a big stage. I think it's where Cowboy Monkey is now.
Yeah.
So that is definitely...
It was amazing. I drank a lot there. We had a great time. And that's a time when bands were getting signed, and
right.
Poster Children got signed, Home got signed, Hardvark, Menthol, which was Mother at the time. Great band, Mother.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Oh, hell yeah. Love that. I loved Mother. And and then the High Dive was a great venue.
Right. Yeah, that was like early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and it's not fair to ask me really what the music scene's like now, because I'm 48 now, so
okay.
And I don't get out very much.
Well,
I go to bed at 8.
Oh, I usually shoot for like 9:30. So that's good.
I'm a 10-hour sleeper.
Oh. So, early gigs.
Bored to death. Spend
No.
right now.
No, early gigs for Angie, for anyone that wants to know.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. I had the best slot at Hog Shoot. We played at like 6. I was probably in bed by 8:30.
Nice. Yeah.
On a Saturday night. If you want to party, call me.
At 2 p.m. Yes, I get that. I totally get that. Yeah. If I had, one of my favorite non-musical things would probably be sleeping.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, my favorite thing of all time is just being lazy. I love being lazy as much as possible. And unfortunately, I can't be lazy efficiently until I've taken care of the things that I've got to take care of. So when I can get those things done, I'm like, yay, I get to be as lazy as possible.
Like animals and a wife.
Yes, well, I was thinking more of like yard work and doing a podcast and all these things, because I also feel like I need to have things that certain things exist, like this podcast. And
I love it.
So, Yeah, so I mean, I guess we kind of chatted about the music scene and oh my goodness, I mean, so much to scrape out of your brain that I'd love to, but I feel like let's stay on target. How about what is your favorite non-musical thing?
I'm going to go with sleep.
Sleep. All right.
I'm going to go with...
Let's fist bump to
Can I have
that.
Can I have a couple non...
Yeah, absolutely. Bring it up.
I love colored Christmas tree lights.
Colored. Okay.
I love Grey Gardens.
Excellent.
I love Marianne Williamson.
Okay.
Who happens to be running for president.
All right. Well, tell us about Marianne
Well, just
Williamson.
go check out marianne2020.com. I'll leave it at that. What else do I love? I love cats. Cats are my favorite non-musical thing.
So, do you have any favorite cat stories that you'd love to share?
Well, I don't really...
You're not a story collector of cats?
No. I do own the domain name Catdict, which I don't know if it makes sense, but like a cat addict.
Yeah.
Because I was going to just have a website of all things cats for sale.
Oh.
Like a little thrift store for cats.
That'd be great. Let's get on that.
And, but
like,
you know what?
Moving on.
I had a cat, Dale.
Mm-hmm.
I had her for 19 years.
Yeah.
I loved her. She was my best friend. And I can still feel her jump on the bed. I think she's around.
That's cool. Well, Leslie had, we had a dog for 8 years. We had Fred. Do you remember Fred? He was like a big, huge 100-pound dog.
Oh, yeah.
And, but then he got cancer and then, he passed on and then, but Leslie used to, remember like she would be like half awake and she would feel him like on her chest and
I think they are around.
So I mean I totally get that. Of course he didn't visit me or anything. No, but Fred was Leslie's dog for sure. Like they had that connection, and Leslie has a way of connecting with animals in a way that it's like it's just that 101 connection, and there's nobody else in that relationship. It's just this bubble.
It's
just
like
kind of neat.
It's like sometimes in our lives we find someone we don't know, but something deep inside tells you they're part of your whole. And you look into a kitten's eyes, or a dog's eyes, and you realize, you recognize. Do you believe in reincarnation?
I don't know what I believe, but I do believe that there isn't necessarily an end to what we consider as our little meat pockets that we run around in. You know, I know. I'm so sorry.
No, I don't.
Our little flesh castle that our soul inhabits, or our consciousness. I don't know. I mean, it's right. We're like this animated. Yeah, we're this animated collection of cells that has something more than just the neurons. I don't know. I guess that's how I always feel about it, and whether that's accurate or not, I don't know. But does it really matter? Because either I'm going to be dead one day and nothing, or I'll be dead one day but something else. So
let's write a song about that.
Okay. I'm just going to reach over here, grab a bass. You can have the little tiny guitar. But yeah, this is so great. I'm happy that we're able to just kind of sit down and do this, and this kind of impromptu kind of. Was there anything else you wanted to like mention, or?
I just want to say thank you for having me over.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime. I'm happy that you want to be over because it's so great.
Sven lives in the 100-acre wood.
I'll take 5-acre wood. Let's just do that. It's all good. But yeah, so Angie, thank you for coming on the show and talking about your song. It's easier when you're here. I almost blanked. So, off the album Let It Ride. And, I look forward and I hope that you get to write that happy song and you get to, well, I don't know, whatever your endeavors, because sometimes if it's not making you happy or making you feel better, then why bother?
I agree. That's my goal. That's what I'm like putting out into the universe is let me write a happy song or something that will help other people.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I love you.
I love you too, Angie. Can I get you to read that like a couple times?
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's big enough, right?
Thank you for listening to Champagne is Also a Band podcast. This is Angie Heaton reminding you, great music is out there. Go find it where you live. Thank you for listening to Champagne is Also a Band podcast. This is Angie Heaton reminding you, great music is out there. Go find it where you live.
Yay! All right.
Go find it where you live.
Yeah, go find it where you
go
live.
Somewhere else and find it.
Go find it where you live. All right? Oh,
Get out of my yard.
stupid kids.
Thanks for listening to this. Now, an extra interview that I did with Kurt Bielema of episode 68 regarding the recording of Let It Ride. And also, let me just add, we just kind of chatted about Angie. So thanks, everybody, and check out all the stuff that Angie's done. Angie was a dear friend. I miss her so much, and I just want people to hear this part of her. And so I really appreciate you all listening and hearing her stories. Thanks.
One thing I wanted to talk about so I wouldn't forget, and it has to relate to basically both our topics of conversation. It has to do with my new stuff, and it has to do with my stuff with Angie Heaton. When we recorded Let It Ride, we recorded one song that didn't go on the record. And it was a song I wrote called Ready and Able. And Angie just really liked that song. I had done like a 4-track version of it. I was pretty happy with it. But she wanted to sing it and record it for an album. And we got it pretty far. And I don't know exactly why I pulled the plug on it. Besides like redoing some guitar parts, it was basically everything was ready to go. I think maybe just the weight of all the other songs and me moving to a different phase in my life, it was the one we could drop most easily. For Space, I didn't intend, especially, the beginning of 2020. How 2020 started was we were going to play a show at the Rose Bowl. We were going to get the band back together, Angie on drums, me on guitar, Charlie Dold on bass, and then that totally fell apart. And then Angie got sick, and then it just sort of like dropped off the radar completely. But I hadn't even really been thinking of that either. But this one day, I just was curious and see if I could find like the old files, because they were like buried on either a hard drive. I think I found some files on a hard drive, some files on a CD backup I burned. So it was really kind of, I had to do a little detective work to get all the tracks together. But I was able to pull everything into Logic and figure out what the next step was. The next step is I asked Angie's parents if it was okay if I did this, if I put this song out on my record with Angie singing it, and they gave their blessing. Then the second thing I did was ask Josh Quirk if he wanted to play drums on it, and he said yes. So it's kind of the last song. Much like Angie's record, it's the last song we're working on.
Right.
And it's almost done. I mean, I think there's just maybe a couple tweaks that I want to do, and then I'll send the whole project over to James. He kind of brings it into his environment and uses all this stuff. He has a lot nicer equipment than I do, so I'm really, really happy to have James involved. He's making it sound so much better than I could ever make it sound at home. But I wanted to talk about that, and that's going to be part of my Space album that comes out on the 22nd. And I hope once everyone hears it that they'll think it was a good idea that I did it, and I think they will. When you sometimes get in front of people and you talk and you have these things that you want to talk about in mind, But then in the course of just sort of like talking, you forget about things, or the conversation just kind of goes in one way and you kind of go with it. So you just kind of improvise. Well, that happened when I gave my before I played a song at Angie's Celebration of Life, I sort of had some things I wanted to talk about, but then I ended up kind of talking about something else, and it was totally fine. The thing I wanted to talk about is just like once I got all files loaded and kind of like in the right place in Logic, you could solo like Angie's track, and you could hear, just breathing. Wearing headphones, you can hear breathing and shuffling around because the mic is live, and you can hear she's listening to headphones of the song. She's kind of humming along. And then she would sing her part, and then after it, she would sometimes just go like, under her breath, she'd say, fuck, like real quiet. And I wanted to talk about that at the thing, but I forgot about it. It's such a funny thing to listen to, because then, then she's alive again. She's like there, like breathing on you.
When I spoke with Angie for the episode, she mentioned that she wouldn't have made it through the recording of the album if it wasn't for you spurning her on or encouraging her to get things going.
It was a long process. Like I was talking about before, I was distracted. I was taking classes at Parkland, and I had a new girlfriend. That it took a long time. It didn't really bother me. It's funny how we'd sort of like establish like how the drums are going to go, the arrangement. Angie would record an acoustic guitar part. Sometimes she would do the vocals then, but then she went away. Then I would just build the song up, create some layered parts, add some more guitars, much the same way that I worked on the album I just completed.
How did you meet Angie? How did you run into Angie?
My first memory of Angie was we were at a roller rink in Camp Point, Illinois. I went there because there was a heavy metal band that played in this little roller rink with all the disco lights going. All the kids there were like high schoolers, like junior, seniors, I guess. And the kids from Mount Sterling did not behave like the kids from Griggsville, where I grew up, in a lot of different ways. It must have been the Catholic school that was there. But they loved to dance. That's the first time I remember seeing Angie was dancing to these heavy metal tunes. Actually, it wasn't a heavy metal tune. It was that song, I Will Follow by U2. Do you know that song?
Yeah.
But there's the kind of like breakdown section, and of course the heavy metal band's playing this, and your eyes make a circle. Like I was dancing along, I looked at Angie, and she was like kind of gesturing, and then she pointed at me. And it was like she made a circle with her two arms, and then she pointed at me. Of course, I could be remembering that totally wrong, but that's a really early Angie Heaton memory.
But that sounds like her. And the thing is that I always felt like she had a sense of people that nobody else. I think it wasn't it Josh Quirk that said there's a puzzle that Angie could see that nobody else could see, that the little parts that fit together in such a weird way, in almost an inexplicable way. I kind of envy you having the opportunity to kind of, and it probably could have been frustrating as hell, but just having the opportunity to work on an album with her and like construct it, because something about her creative process always just fascinated me. How she can write something that was, I mean, it seems so simple. Like a lot of the stuff that she did was so simple, but yet, like, I don't know. It always caught you by surprise at how
3 chords and the truth.
Exactly. She didn't need anything else. It was just like she was always going to be straightforward and lay it out. So.
Yeah, and it was like there from the beginning too, sort of her like lyrical gift and melody. Her first album, there's some just great lyrics and great lines, and it's about her grandma, and it's about her family, and it's about the Camp Point roller rink. No, I guess that was on the second album. Was it? Yeah, Roller Skate was on the second album, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That was about the Camp Point roller rink.
Oh, okay. It's all coming together.
Jolie Miller, I think, at the roller rink.
I love it. So what was the first song that you worked on?
That would be really hard to sort of figure out. I remember working on the first song on the album, It's Easier When You're Here. We wanted to have this little drum intro, but I don't know if people know, but that whole album is like programmed drums, much like what I did for the new record. But this was old school programming where it was very laborious. There wasn't an artificial intelligence helping you. That probably took as much time as the rest, the music part of it, the drum programming part. Because Angie was really specific, too, about certain drum things that I would program in. She's like, no, I would never do that on the drums. And so we'd take it out. It would be just like kind of like little proggy fills or little like, quick little fills. And she's like, I would never do that. And which is great. That's cool. But I remember that it's easier when you're here. I had all these like MIDI files, like drum MIDI files.
Uh-huh.
And one of them, or maybe it was like whole song MIDI files, but one of them was, what's that Paul Simon song?
That wasn't the one I was thinking.
Jump on the bus, Gus.
Okay.
Make a new plan, Stan.
Yeah.
Don't need to be coy, Roy. What's that song called?
I'm totally
But it's a drum part that starts that song.
Uh-huh.
And we took that drum part, reversed it in MIDI, and that's the beginning of the song.
No. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah.
I think we might have changed a couple other things because it was, just the way it's played is really kind of unique. We may have not just reversed it. We may have like copied some parts and then reversed some parts. And it was all very like, if you've ever done like MIDI programming, it's just basically like you're moving squares on a page, and each square represents a note. In this case, it was a drum hit.
Oh, that sounds rough.
Yeah, I would never do it again. Never.
Do you have a favorite song on the Let It Ride, or one that means something extra to you?
There's parts in every song I think I really like. Like the whole song of Teach Me, I really like that. That, you know what? I just remembered that was the first song we did because it was for a comp and they just wanted one song. And so that was the first song we did. Actually, no. The first song we did together like that was Hard Candy Christmas, the Dolly Parton song.
Uh-huh. Oh, wow.
But then the next one was Teach Me. And that's one song that Angie gave me some, freedom with the drums, because there was a lot of like weird drum hits in that song that I just sort of threw together, and she liked it, and so we kept it.
It's got to be hard to record a MIDI drum for someone who is a drummer.
That's what she wanted to do. I think it was just like a possibility. After Teach Me, she liked it so much that sort of like, that was our paradigm for the album.
So you don't necessarily have like a favorite song, like one that is like your...
No, I think Teach Me. If I had to choose, I just think that song. Love the lyrics. I love everything about that song. I like the guitar part's really fun to play. It has a crazy solo in it, a guitar solo. And it's basically, the same riff, if you will, throughout the song, but it changes. It's the same sort of like chord progression, but just by accentuating different parts of the chord, changes during the song.
Now I'm going to have to listen to that again. I guess beyond that album, is there like a favorite line from any of Angie's songs that you like the most?
Don't bitch, we're bringing the Trans Am.
Yes.
There's a ton, but that one's like, and it's so Angie, and it's just such a great line. Yeah, but I will say, like, in this album, there's so much of sort of Angie's influence on it. When I started living with her in Urbana, we lived at this place right on Park Street, right across from Crystal Lake Park, and started living together just because I was working at the News Gazette and just needed a place to live. That wasn't my parents' house. So I lived with her. She would always bring me home music from Parasol, like all these like different CDs. She was always bringing home new music. And I remember she came and she gave me, like one of the first things she gave me was Pavement's album, Brighten the Corners. But Brighten the Corners, it was like a guitar album. There was just a lot going on that I hadn't really heard before that really I liked. How they could go from just like picking out chords, like single notes, until like completely like distorted craziness, and then a lot of atonal stuff. That sort of resonated with me, and it sort of changed my musical direction. Think about things that change your life. I remember Angie giving me that one CD. Not that it changed my life, but it definitely changed what direction I was going with music, or added to it. Maybe it didn't change it. Maybe it just added to it.
I remember like seeing her at Parasol every once in a while and just being like, oh my gosh, that's Angie. Like, yeah.
She loved that.
She did. Oh, yeah. I could see that. But she never gave the impression that you should treat her any
different. Like she was just Angie, you know. And I think that was one of the things that just because I'd seen her out and play, and then ended up running into her at Parasol, and then just casually starting a conversation with like, "You're Angie Heaton, right?" And I don't know, like somehow that brief encounter really ended up, next time I came in, she recognized me and started the conversation.
Well, she introduced you to me at a show at Exile Main Street. You were doing sound.
Wow. Like at the old location, right? Or
Exile Main Street? No, it was at the new one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
At the current one.
At the current,
yeah.
Yeah.
I really would not have the appreciation or connection to the local music scene if it wasn't for Angie. She actually introduced me to Ryan Groff, Eleni Moriades, and I think my first charity show was those three people. So Angie, Eleni, and then Ryan Groff. So it was like that was what kind of started it. And then
yeah, she was always good at connecting people, I think.
Yeah.
The right kind of people. Connecting people the right way.
Yeah. No, perfect.
How to say the same thing 3 different ways.
I mean, isn't that what music is, though? Right? Like chord structure, and then like,
yeah.
How do I say
I guess I'm good at it.
You had one other thing to say.
Oh, going back to Angie Bringing Me Home albums, that in another album that really she brought home, and it was Elliott Smith XO.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just playing a lot of acoustic at that time, and I was doing a lot of like lower tunings and alternate tunings, and a lot of his music is acoustics tuned low, and I really like that.
I can't even quantify like the experience that was Angie. It's that weird duality of like, she was so confident and yet so fragile at some points. That fragility was the part that made her so real. She would resonate with how you were hurting, and she would kind of grab that part of you. And I don't know, that's always been like my experience. And honestly, I wanted to say something at her thing, but I could never. I'm not like somebody that tells stories, and like I feel like everybody wanted to do stories, and I was like, well, basically the only thing I wanted to say was like, this podcast, my interaction with the local music scene would not exist without Angie. And then there is nothing in the world that was greater than when you would run into Angie randomly, and she'd be like, "Hello, darling," and just the way that she would do it, and I mean, she would put the biggest Southern drawl on it when she really, you could tell how excited she was by how much the drawl would come out, and it just, I mean,
yeah, it would come out at will. And when we lived together, we went on a couple like trips. We went down to Memphis once. We camped. I remember.
You didn't say, "Oh, go."
No, I remember we had set our tent, but we didn't have any wood, and of course it was pitch black. Of course, we didn't plan well to get there, and when it was daylight, we got there when it was dark, and so we got in the car and we started going around. It was like during the week too, so the campground wasn't very full. And we'd pull up beside a campground with a bunch of dudes sitting on it, like, and she'd use her biggest like country girl accent, like, "Where'd y'all get that wood?" She'd be like, "Hey, where'd y'all?" Yeah, it was hilarious.
Oh, that's perfect. I could totally see. Oh, that's great. Oh, man.
Well, yeah, I'm glad I've gotten to say it. I like to tell some of these stories because they kind of only exist like with me for a lot of them, I guess. So it's nice to be able to talk about them because they're funny. They're super funny.
Thank you for listening to Champagne is Also a Band podcast. This is Angie Heaton reminding you great music is out there. Go find it where you live. That's a wrap.
You almost have an NPR voice. It's so good.
Studio, South Peter, on the inside.